And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online. And today brought to you proudly by Palmetto Group Insurance, palmettogroupinsurance.com, owned by our friend Jamie Richardson. Man, he does a great job. If you're in the insurance world, you probably want to knock on his door, especially if you're here in the low country of South Carolina. He knows it inside and out, but most importantly, he is just a wonderful person. So make sure you check with Jamie, palmettogroupinsurance.com. Share Healthcare chat lines, they are open and they are available, and they are starting to fill up. So jump in where you may and make your comments heard. Darren will put them up on the screen, and you'll be a part of our program over the next couple of hours, as we do for you every single day here. JC Shurburtt is ahead at 12:30 this afternoon. It's Wednesday, right? Isn't that we have a lot of people showing up on Wednesdays because JC's around. Isn't that how it works?
Generally speaking.
Yeah, that's right. So he'll be with us at about 12:30, and you know the drill. JC can stick around as long as he wants to. Well, until 2:00, and that's it. The latest on the NFL draft, which begins tomorrow night. A big announcement tonight in college hoops. Gigi Jackson. What school will he choose? Some I think are holding out hope here in our state that he will stay home locally and play for the Gamecocks. I'll just say that the information I have does not lead me down that road,
No.
But you never know, I guess. And I guess if there's something to hold on to, as we mentioned yesterday, Darren, he did not reclassify. He'll continue to be a 23 guy. And so there's probably, maybe a sliver of hope for somebody there that Coach Paris and that staff, Kerry Rich, can get him turned around and in the garnet and black. So we'll see, but that announcement's coming up later on this evening. Did get the announcement yesterday, by the way, that Brevin Galloway from Anderson transferred to Boston College to play for Earl Grant from the College of Charleston and now to Clemson University. He chose the Tigers over the Gamecocks. So that's a big get up there for Brad Brownell and the Clemson Tigers. And then also – just a little while ago, and we'll get into some of this today as much as we can, but this would be really good news for college baseball specifically. There's some things we're going to need to clean up, but it looks like the NCAA may be starting to turn the tables on some of the so-called outdated rules within their frame. And one of those is no caps on scholarships, which 11.7 for 27 guys in baseball is like the dumbest thing on planet Earth, especially in the world that we're living in. I will say, though, Darren, this idea that you can just have as many coaches as you want to have is a horrible idea, because Alabama's going to have 30 coaches on the sideline and Ole Miss is going to have 12. That is ludicrous to me. So hopefully somebody up there will clean it up. This is probably a preliminary proposal, and then they'll start to shape these things a little bit. None of it is set in stone, and there are some other things to get into with that. but I was a fan of the scholarship thing. That's got to change in baseball. And it's got to change for coaches in baseball too, Darren. They only let you have 3 of them. It's ridiculous.
You've been preaching it for a long time. I mean, anytime something about the NCAA comes up, you circle right back to before we discuss this topic at hand. Let's remind everyone there's 11.7 scholarships in baseball and 2 paid assistants, and it's absurd.
It's absurd.
It is. It's crazy. If you don't cap assistants, it will be just like NIL, just like everything else we're seeing now, where the rich get richer and those who can't keep up, which is one of the reasons why. Wouldn't shock me if they leave it in, because everything is trending that way. If you can afford it, if you want to throw the money there, go ahead and do it. And if you can't, we'll see you over there. We'll wave at you across the river or across the Mass Divide. And that's kind of the way the landscape is going right now. And who knows where the landscape is going with Mark Emmert stepping down and whoever's going to lead the NCAA. So all of this coming at once throws the NCAA up into the air, at least in terms of how everyone perceives it. It's always been a mess. Now it's a mess all up in the air, exploding volcano mess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Mark Emmert news last night, not surprising, not shocking at all. It's probably time for him. And personally speaking, I'm sure there's a part of him that's probably like, yeah, this can't get here soon enough. He can move on in his life, and we'll thank him for what he did. I certainly so much to question in his tenure as the leadership, as the leader of the NCAA. Of course, there's probably a lot of loose strings behind the scenes as well that he has to deal with that we don't know about. Just like we try to tell you a lot of times around here, there's a lot of things that guys like Ray Tanner have to deal with that nobody knows about. And that's just part of being a leader when you're in sports. Darren and I have an announcement to make, and I know that Darren has already teased this on social media some, and most people will do this towards the end of it. But this Friday, Darren and I will be signing off the air for the last time as JB and Goldwater, and it's really hard for me to say that. This is it's time for us to move on in our lives and do some other things. For anybody that speculates, this is nothing bad. I dearly adore Darren and his family, and I'm not speaking for him, but I think he'd say the same thing about ours. This is nothing personal at all. But we've had a good run, and Darren's been in this industry for over 20 years. I've been in it for over 8, and we have made the decision to slide into other parts of our lives. With that said, it's I mentioned to Darren yesterday after we got off the air that if it was up to me, this is the coward's way out, I would do it at 1:55 on Friday. But we respect our audience, and we've got thousands of people that watch and listen to us every day. And so we're not gonna jump ship on you without giving you a couple of days to engage, and I hope you'll stick around. I hope we don't not mean anything to you anymore now. But it's time, and we can't say thank you enough. It's going to be really hard to get through Friday's show. I know that. And the other side of it that Darren and I decided was good reason to say it today is we have JC on. So he'll just make us laugh for an hour, and we won't even think twice about it. But it sucks. It sucks. I know that. But I'm really looking forward to the next chapter of my life, and I know Darren, I think you are too. But I'm sorry to tell everybody that, but we'll miss you. But we hope you'll stick with us through Friday.
It's been fun getting to know everyone the way we've gotten to know you guys in whatever odd way this is, and knowing you in a chat room and through social media. We're around. Hit us up. For me personally, this has been a very long time coming. Anyone who knows me, this is not surprising news. Anyone who knows me knows that in my mind, this was coming sooner than later. Jamie pointed out that I've been doing this for 20 years. Play-by-play wise, I got to the national level. That's better than 99% of the folks who get into it. Media wise, we created this show. We're very, very proud of what we were able to accomplish the friendships, the bonds, all of that. We're very proud of it. It's just time. It's time. I'm looking forward to getting out of the media, potentially still dealing with the media, but looking forward to being out of it on this side. And I'll add my name to the list of folks who've been in the media for a while and say, peace out. It's been a good run. I'll be around. I'm excited for what's next, and whatever that is, everyone's going to find out soon enough for both of us. But it's time. It's time. It's been a good run. It's been fun, but we'll talk to you. Stay in touch. You guys can get in touch with me. You know how. Same with Jamie.
Yeah, we're not dying. I don't think. I see Jeff Hartzell there has commented in the Share Healthcare chat lines. It meant a lot to me, and I know it meant a lot to Darren when we first got started. Jeff came and sat down with us at your house, Darren, and did a wonderful article. I still have it right behind me, and I'll always keep that. I really appreciate Jeff's grace and all of our friends at the Post and Courier and everybody. I've begun making phone calls behind the scenes. Jeff, you're going to get a call. And there's some others out there who probably listening going, well, I haven't gotten a call. Well, don't worry. You're going to get one. We haven't been able to do this without all of our guests and without the rest of the media world and all of our audience. This wouldn't have been possible. Darren and I never tried to make it about ourselves. We always wanted it to be about all of you and about the coaches and the players and not about us, So we hope that's been the case for the last couple of years. And we thank you. We really do. I'll tell you, what I'm going to do. I'll be head first in real estate. I've had my license for a while. I've been a kind of a part-time realtor on the side, and starting, let's just say starting Monday. That's what I'll be doing full time. So if anybody ever feels like I can help them or something like that, this is my sales pitch to you. I won't shy away from that. Please reach out to me and we will do everything we can.
You got a platform to give a pitch. Pitch away, man.
That's right. That's right. So if I can help anybody in that end, know everybody, and everybody in my family knows everybody, and we're able to do whatever we need to do to help people, and we'll take good care of you on that end. We'll miss it, man. We'll miss it. And I'll say this too, Darren, and I know that we're going to move on and let's talk about sports and give everybody what they really want for the next couple of days. I'm not going to miss media. I've told a couple of people, if you ever need me for something, you reach out. There's certainly some things I just love to talk about. I'll miss the people. I'm not going to miss the grind. I'm not going to miss paying attention to Twitter all night, every night, to make sure I don't miss anything when I'm just trying to watch a movie with my kids. I'm not going to miss that stuff. If I miss a commitment somewhere, big deal. I don't care. Starting Friday. But I will miss all of you, and we really appreciate it. So
well said.
That's just my truth.
I'll miss these 2 hours. It's fun, engaging. I'm ready for something new. I really am. Yeah. It's a fun 2 hours. I've done everything the scope of media can handle, I guess, aside from the news, and I'm not going into the news. So that's not happening. I'm not getting out of media sports side to go into the news side. That sounds terrible. But it's, I don't have something to say right now. I can't say some of the stuff right now, and that's a good thing. So for now, it's like I said before, like you've said, it's time. There are certain things that I've missed from the play-by-play career. Ironically, the games are not one of them. I do not miss calling games at all. I miss the travel. I miss the people. I do not miss calling games. So will I miss the show? I'll miss the interaction. But I'll be happy to move on and see what's next and share what's next when that next is next.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. And Darren will always be a friend of mine, and we will always be in touch. So, these last 2 years, Darren, you saved me. Both you and I had a interesting hill to climb in our careers that it's weird how it overlaps, because both happened to us. And the last 2 years, thank God for this, man. It's been just a pleasure to be on the air with you every day. So
you too. Miss that. It's been fun, right? I mean, and this is proof that that you can kind of create something out of an idea. And that's what we did. We had an idea. We created something, started as audio, turned into video. We created a platform every single day that's available in multiple different avenues. And it's something to be proud of. And it's proof that you and I clearly were not the same person, but we also clearly work very, very well together, and we make a very good team. It's a good example to a lot of folks in a lot of different fields, because that does work. People can complement each other very strongly. And we're proof of that. And we're very proud of what we've accomplished. Obviously, we're staying around. We're going to stay friends and in touch individually. And I hope you guys watching and listening as well. If you're just listening, I'm at Darren Goldwater, and he's Sports Media JB. He says it like 10 times a show. You should know that by now. So stay in touch. I mean, we're not hiding from anything. So stay in touch.
Nah, we'll be around. That's for sure. So, but more throughout the week. I see all these, comments, man. It's cool. We really appreciate it. And I'm not going to read all those because they're about us. But we really appreciate that. And it means a lot. And stick with us through Friday. We've got, I think tomorrow, I haven't even talked to you about it, Darren, but we've got Coach Holbrook tomorrow. I know we have Corey McCartney tomorrow, Scott Glaze tomorrow. We've got Derek Scott on Friday, Rafael Esparza on Friday, and really looking forward to the next couple of days wrapping it up.
I shot Rafael a text last night, and I congratulated him on being one of our final guests. So that's like news to him.
That's right. Yeah, he texted me this morning. I was like, how the hell do you know about he had to have talked to you.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, have I said something? But I didn't.
No.
So there you go. All right, on today's college baseball schedule, Wofford is at Clemson. Hey, top 25 Wofford is at Clemson tonight in college baseball. I actually talked with Monty Lee this morning. This is going to be a damn good game. This is a big deal for both teams. Think about what's on the line. It's a midweek game that when you put it on the schedule, nobody thinks about it. Wofford is in the top 25. They are 30-10, and they're hoping to finish the year with a flurry of wins. If they do, could they be knocking on the door of a regional host? The chances are no. But who knows? You win over 40 games. I mean, we've seen this happen to Old Dominion. Georgia Southern has hosted regionals before. It absolutely can happen. And Clemson is playing good baseball right now. So this would be a huge win for Wofford, and as strange as it is to say it, a huge win for Clemson tonight, who is trying to get into the dance. Darren, they've been on the outside looking in the last few weeks as they kind of slumped, but they've picked it up. They've won the last couple of ACC series, and all of a sudden, here we go. So this is a big game tonight. Keep an eye on this, and I really love it for the state of South Carolina because you've got a quote-unquote mid-major from the SoCon is doing as well as they are in the top 25, and one of the traditional powers of the state and of their respective league, the ACC, and traditionally in the country, playing baseball tonight. This is exciting. I'm excited to watch it. I can't wait.
It means a lot for both, like you just said. And can they host? Sure. If they get hot, and they have been hot, if they continue this, I mean, maybe play, I don't know, 70% type ball, something like that for the rest. Can they get a regional host? Yeah, they can't host at their place, but it's not like they're far away from Floor Field or another similar bigger locale than their place. Can it happen? It can. This would absolutely further their cause. And same goes for Clemson. Not can you host a regional, but can you play your way in? Because there was a time not too long ago where it was a long shot, and now they're playing better baseball. This is one you want to win. It actually improves the resume of Clemson and Wofford, but of Clemson if they win.
Absolutely. It's a I think it's actually a 4:00 first pitch today at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. So when you look at the games that are going on across the country, there's not a lot of them this week or today in the top 25, I should say. This is the game. There's only 5, I think, ranked teams playing. This is the game. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on this one for sure, and definitely have a recap tomorrow, Darren. But you got Wofford in there with an RPI of 13 at 30-10 coming into it. And as I mentioned, Clemson, they're now 27-14 overall, but their RPI is at 35. The RPI is fine for the Tigers. They just need to continue to win more games. Naturally, when they do, that RPI is going to climb, but they just got to keep winning more games. Clemson is probably at 27-14. I would say there's 6 wins from surely probably being in the tournament, depending on where those wins come. 7, they're in. And they've got 5 versus the top 25 in RPI, 8 overall versus the top 50. They're 8-11 there. So if you win a few more games, you're naturally going to get some of those wins anyways, because it's the ACC. And by the way, it's Wofford. So 7, they're absolutely in it. They'll be dancing this year under Monty Lee, and I love Monty with all my heart. So I hope they get in and do some damage for him. We'll see what happens. I know all the Gamecock fans out there going, what? Yeah, well, I've known him since I was 9 years old, and I like to see him be successful. So hopefully they can get it done today, Darren. As we mentioned, some of the changes potentially coming to the NCAA, we'll find out. Mark Emmert steps down last night, and then we get this report today that some major stuff could be happening. It's called the Transformation Committee, which is headed up, Greg Sankey is on it. Good name to be on that, that's for sure. Not surprising, or I should say this, probably not a coincidence that Mark Emmert announced his resignation and then this news came out today.
It's not a coincidence at all.
Fairly calculated, right?
Right. And it goes back to what you said before. There's probably a lot of Mark Emmert that says, okay, I'm ready. Like he's done enough. He has taken enough of a beating, a lot of it deservedly so. And it's time for him too. And if you missed it, right, that it's until the next guy is found or June of 23. But it makes perfect sense that this news came out just a tick ahead of a landscape that could be completely changing if it hasn't changed enough already.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of folks exhausted out there with the changes that are currently in college athletics. This, if they can get it right, will correct some issues. It's not going to necessarily that I'm aware of, Darren. I saw no detail that would have anything to do necessarily with NIL, but some of the other things, creating windows for the transfer portal and things like that, where I spoke to a coach yesterday who literally said to me, I spend 24 hours a day on call as to whether there's going to be a transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, that wasn't a phrase that was like figuratively, like I'm looking at my phone for 24 straight hours a day. Oh my God, I can't sleep because I might leave. It was, what he was explaining was, anytime I get a text, anytime I get a call, anytime I get an email, anytime my SID says, hey, I got something for you, we need to talk, come to my office, can I come to your office? Those type of conversations, one of the, you always wonder who's calling, who's texting, who's emailing, why do you need to meet with somebody? And if you don't know already, and that is one of the first thoughts. It's always, okay, who's leaving? And he's like, it is beyond exhausting to go through it. Some Darren perceived comments like that in I think the wrong way, which is like, well, you can leave whenever you want to. Why can't the players leave whenever they want to? Well, not really. Like a coach can't just walk into someone's office and say, by the way, I'm leaving to go coach here, because they have a contract that you still have to work through. These guys don't have that. They just get to do what they want.
But coaches have much more freedom to
they do.
To walk into an office and say that. Yeah. I get that part for the players. I understand the coaches' headaches. There has to be some form of calendar just to protect the team itself. But you should have
integrity.
Integrity. You should have freedom as a player to go as freely as, at least as close to as freely as every coach has the freedom to move.
I'm not saying it that way. I mean, what I'm saying is that, there will be a guy who enters the transfer portal and he's and then like, there's no strings attached. Like you don't have to give any money back for your scholarship, like nothing. You just get to go on. Coaches can't do that. If you just decide to leave, you're gonna have to pay the school back some money, or somebody's gonna have to. So there is a string attached. And I have this isn't even framework. These are ideas that have been brought to the forefront by this transformation committee. Then it'll go into basically creating framework and then making adjustments, and then they'll present it to the Board of Governors, and we'll see what happens. So if they get it right, you can start to maybe tilt the scale back to maybe more of a middle ground in college athletics, having some type of strings attached to the portal when guys can leave and can't leave. I'm a big fan of that. It doesn't mean that you have to play or have to be on your team, but maybe there's a time where, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, 2 players just up and quit on their team at the College of Charleston. I mean, come on, like that's bullshit crap. That's just ridiculous. First of all, it's soft for the players. I can't stand that junk. And you leave your teammates hanging. These guys have spent years recruiting you, and you just up and leave them hanging. There are some things that are going to have to come into this framework that they're going to have to figure out what's best for the sport and stuff like that. I already mentioned the scholarship caps and being able to start to overcome some of those hurdles, especially for a sport like baseball. That would be enormous, and it is much needed. It is much warranted. What scared me the most was no caps on on-field coaches. I'm not exactly sure how there is anything about that is remotely close to good for anything, fair, anything. I don't like it. Darren, for instance, if you have a quarterbacks coach and you got a bunch of money, you could also go hire another quarterbacks coach at another school just so he won't be there and pay him a bunch of money. And it just adds to your coaching staff. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, what world are we living in here? There should be a cap on coaches in every sport. They just got to get it right.
I mean, it'd be hard to pay a guy in that scenario. Like Team Goldwater, I don't want the quarterback coach at Team Jamie, right? So I've already got a quarterback coach, but I'm going to pay that guy just to be on my staff. But then I have 2 voices as the quarterback coach. So I don't think that would work. I don't see that big of an issue, other than it's more, like I said before, the rich get richer and everyone else is in this chasm way over there. Because if you want more coaches and you put them in the right positions, it's up to you as the head coach to know, I probably don't want more coaches than I have players. I don't want 4,000 people on my sideline. I need to keep some restraint in there. But if you can have more coaches, if you can shrink that fraction of coach to player, that you hear it all the time, how many teachers are in a classroom, the teacher to student relationship, you can shrink that. Theoretically, you should be able to have better coaching in certain areas. I don't think anyone would go crazy, but I do think it would be the rich are getting richer, and they're going to be better because they're putting more coaches in the right positions and paying them more, and everyone else without that money is over there.
Exactly. And that's what we can't have. And that's not even separating the G5 from the P5. I mean, you're separating teams from teams in the same league. You're separating Wake Forest from Clemson. They're both in the ACC. You're separating South Carolina from LSU or Alabama or Texas A&M, which is all of a sudden started throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at recruits. There has got to be some type of something. I mean, the NFL can't just have 30 coaches in the Patriots and 11 over here for Green Bay. It doesn't work like that in the NFL. This is how you do it. Here's the structure, period. But there's no leadership in the NCAA. So I'm not saying that anybody, like, you're right. What you're saying is dead on. The rich will get richer. And then you're eventually going to have about 12 teams in the country that can only compete with each other and nobody else is going to matter. That is not good for college athletics.
But it's where this is. If we're going where it looks like we're going, where Dabo Sweeney thinks we're going, where Shurburtt thinks we're going, then all of that does make sense. Because if that is where this sport is going, and it's reasonable to assume that is going to happen. I mean, if you just simply look at future earnings, there is going to be a huge gap. So if this is where it's eventually going to go, putting restrictions in place, not allowing teams to grow with this in the right direction, I think that's a misstep. I mean, you may as well leave certain things open-ended, because once it does get to that point, once it gets to, let's call it an NFL model, then it's okay to change the way you're doing things, because everything will have changed at that point. If it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I see it a little differently, Darren, because I think college. What's that?
Oh, you're way behind me.
Oh, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. College athletics, what makes college athletics so, I think we're ruining a lot of things that makes college athletics so grand and so great. And it just scares me if we're going to continue to separate the haves from the have-nots. If that's where it's going, somebody needs to step in and stop it from where it's going. I mean, if you're about to drive off a cliff, you need to put up a guardrail, right? And I feel like driving off of a cliff is where a lot of this is potentially going. I'm a big fan of putting more coaches in baseball, putting more coaches in softball, things like that. Like they need that. They deserve it. Same thing with the scholarship numbers. But I mean, like if I'm driving down the road and I'm about to run into a ditch, somebody needs to stop me. Just because that's where I'm going doesn't mean that's where I need to be. And so, somebody, again, we don't have any leadership. I don't know what the leadership is going to look like after Mark Emmert, or maybe leading up to Mark Emmert. I have no idea. But they got to find a way to not just replace just replace to replace. If they need to restructure for the good of college athletics, then they need to restructure for the good of college athletics, not just put another president in there who basically is just kind of you're just sitting there. Like, what's the point of the president? Like, what is Mark Emmert's real job? All he does is talk. Like, he doesn't make any decisions, Like, what does he really do?
He annoys everyone. And whatever he tries to do or is late to do or doesn't do, that's what he does. Annoys everybody. It's time. Like there was a question here, Courtney, in our Share Healthcare chat line. Do the two of us think there needs to be some type of commissioner? And I'll answer for you. Yes.
Yeah.
There needs to be somebody with power that oversees this. Yes. Yes.
A voted commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be a voted on commissioner in college athletics. Absolutely. And when that guy sucks, you fire him and you get the next guy. We don't need Congress. God knows we don't need Congress or anybody in Washington, D.C. They can't handle anything up there anyways. Why do I want them handling the one thing that I love in life, which is college athletics? But changes appear to be somewhat coming. So we'll see. And I would like to see, too, and I know we got to go, so we got JC coming up next. I'd like to see a collective group, Darren, of former players, current leadership, former leadership, and I'm talking about ADs, I'm talking about presidents, things like that, because there is the new model, there is the new age, there are new ideas, there's new ways to do things. That also doesn't mean that you totally discount old ways of doing things. So if you can find a way to find a mesh point somewhere between the past, the present, and the future, I think that you could start to create a structure that it at least satisfies the overwhelming majority of people. There's always going to be people who don't like something. And I'm not going to like something that they do. I'm an old school guy. Mm-hmm. I'm generally going to tell the new school guys, I think it's ridiculous. But it doesn't mean that I'm right. So, I'd like to see people who've been in it and people who are in it from every level be able to collaborate on what's best. Some voices are going to matter more than others. I mean, there's going to be some 20-year-old college kid who's going to be in there is like, I really think that college football players should be paid $2.5 million a year. Yeah, well, that's not happening. So, there's going to be wild and wacky ideas. But that's the point of having conversation, is to figure it out. And maybe they're going to figure it out. I don't know. If they won't figure it out before Friday, it won't be our problem to talk about after
exactly. They're going to figure something out, and there are going to be a lot of changes, because who knows how it's going to look without Mark Emmert and who the next guy is, and if that guy will have power or do anything.
Yeah, they won't get it figured out before Friday, of more than likely like 2040. But hopefully we'll still be alive whenever they do. All right, it is time for a timeout. JC Shurburtt, he owns the BigSpur.com, and he is up next right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW. Negative trade equity finance the new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone, again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy.
I got honeybee beating on my screen door. I got a little buzz in my head. So cause we come from a long line of sinners like me.
And you were listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Don't cry for me when I'm gone. Just put a quarter in the jukebox.
Oh, man, I'll miss that. I know that. I can listen to all those songs every day, all day, though. Don't worry. This isn't the only time I hear them every week.
No, your daughter suggested in the car.
Dude, it is like proud parent of the year award type stuff for myself when we get in the truck in the morning and they want to listen to Eric Church or quote, Daddy, we want to hear the Gamecocks, the fight song. And they love the Carolina band's version of Amazing Grace. Like they love that song. So it's always Eric Church or the Gamecocks. I'm like, no problem. You mean to tell me that all your other little buddies are listening to Baby Shark and all that crap? I don't have to deal with that.
You don't know how lucky you are. Like you hear it when you're with your friends, but you are only subjected to it while you're with your friends.
That's right,
like
dude.
People that don't have kids, they'll watch your kid, but they get to give your kid back. You don't know how lucky you are when you're not subjected to the stuff you're not subjected to.
Yeah, exactly, man. I am like so fired up every time we go to school in the morning. I mean, not because I'm taking them to school. I like hanging out with my kids. I miss them when I drop them off, but because I get 6 minutes of listening to the Chief and the Gamecocks. Before we get JC in here, which he's a little behind today. Maybe he's emotionally upset or something. I don't know. We'll have to.
He could be covering the commitment, maybe.
Yeah, he could be. We'll get him here in just a minute. But before we get there, shout out to home state hero Darius Rucker for his Riverfront Revival If you haven't heard about this, it's a music festival on October. Hold on. I think it's 8th and 9th, October 8th and 9th, which I checked the schedule, and South Carolina is at Kentucky that weekend. So it makes sense. That's the weekend he would choose.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be out there at the North Charleston Riverfront Park. And this is a music festival that Darius Rucker has basically created with us here, the Low Country. I think he's got Brothers Osborne, Jimmy Allen. They're going to be here. I know he's got Lauren Jenkins coming. That's Patrick Davis's fiance, and that's a week before she gets married, which I'm going to that wedding. There's no doubt about that. Darren, I got to pull this up. Darren, now that I started talking about it, I'm ticked off because I can't remember everybody that's going to be here. Pretty sure the Blue Dogs are going to be there. That shouldn't be shocking, right?
Yeah. But it's a good show. I mean, and it's on the heels of the High Water Festival. That was just a massive, like, return to normal type success. And then they follow that with this news of Darius.
Yeah, good for Darius, man. He always takes care of everybody here. Larry Fleet, oh, man, Trampled by Turtles will be there. If you've never heard Larry Fleet, I don't care if you like country music or not. This cat is the real deal. He is some kind of something. He's got a voice like JC, as a matter of fact. And there's JC. Hey, JC.
Hey, guys.
You okay?
Nah, man. I'm pretty far from okay.
Yeah, I see that.
To quote Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Step aside, Butch. No. Yeah. I guess I'm a little melancholy.
Well, why? Like, what's going on with you? Is it the bad weather up there? Did you have a bad beef sandwich? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, nothing worse than a bad beef sandwich. I don't think I've had a bad beef sandwich, though. I think it's hard to mess that up, I think. But a little melancholy. I mean, I know this is
you can say it. We've already said it.
This is kind of the swan song, and I don't know. I just hope I can make it through this.
You will.
You'll make it through. We'll make it through. We're all good. It's I have begun the last couple of mornings just calling the people that we've worked with for 2 years and that I've worked with. I mean, shoot, Darren, I don't know when we started this show that anybody that I worked with when I was with ESPN, as far as guests on the air, that I didn't bring with us, because not because it was about me, because it was about them. Like, they're so good. And we have started just calling to thank everybody. That's been hard. We'll always be friends, but we'll certainly miss these times. This hour every week, or hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes, is fun. There's no doubt.
We'll miss you, man. And you were a huge, huge part of this and how it grew. So we'll be in touch, but melancholy. I like the word.
A little bit. Yeah. It's just, I was just thinking today, I was going back to the,
yeah. It's been fun, man.
Yeah. I mean, the first episode, cause you guys have gotten started, and it was during the pandemic, and I just happened to, we were struggling for content, right, on the Big Spur, because what do you write about? Well, there may or may not be a football season, and we hope everybody's safe and enjoying your takeout food, and basically sitting around drinking all the time, but most of us, because we were just like, wow. And I remember I wrote something like the best road trips in the SEC, and you guys, I got a message from one of you, and I think JB, and said, hey, you want to come on and talk? And we had a great time, and it was a great segment. It's probably the highlight of my week, as far as the media stuff that I do and all that. But I really felt like, just from my personal standpoint, I guess this is the last show. We just have to say it. I mean, it's been one of the best things I've done in my career.
Oh, wow.
I feel like here I can kind of be myself,
and
you can't always say that. So, sorry, I didn't.
Well,
gosh, it just kind of hit me that this was it.
No, that's that's a big. I don't think anyone's ever said to me that about anything I've done. So that means a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you and I talk a lot, obviously, and you texted me one night, maybe a couple of weeks ago. I don't even know what it was about, JC. I don't even know if we ever remember what we talk about sometimes, but you had texted me one night and said, I bet you didn't realize that we become as good of a friends after this, did you? And I responded to you. I said, no, I knew we would. And that's kind of along the same lines of what Darren and I have said about not just each other, but the people that we've talked to, which we'll thank every one of them on Friday. You know, I don't ever cut this mic on, or very rarely, Darren, have we ever cut it on and not felt like we were talking to a friend. I mean, these aren't really interviews. They're not. I mean, yeah, we get testy about things sometimes or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, we're all just kind of hanging out, and that's kind of how we wanted it to be. We hope that everybody would feel that way. And
that was the purpose. That was what we set out to do. Like, you're hanging out and you're listening to a couple guys at the bar or in their garage or whatever. And everyone we brought on was, number one, the reason the show had whatever lifespan success, whatever you want to say. It's the reason we're proud of it, because JCU, others can add a lot that we can't add, and you contribute to the conversation and further the conversation. And that's why people tune in. But we do it in a way we're hanging out. I mean, I honestly view most of these regulars have been at least connections through JB. I consider you, Corey McCartney, Yuva, I consider everyone friends now. I would never have met any of you guys if it not been for this.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been I remember going down, I don't get the games as much as I used to. And I went to the Kentucky game this year. Obviously, it was a great day. Beautiful day in Columbia, and just a blast, and hung out with Jamie there, and just so welcoming, to not only me, but to Nat and to my other friends that were with me. And, those moments, when you're talking about being the life of being a Gamecock and all that, that's what it's all about. It's kind of all about, the time you spend outside the stadium, I guess, in a lot of ways, considering the history or whatever. But, and there's that. And then, guys, I've always had it in me to be a little clownish, I guess, and to joke around and stuff. And I've been doing this internet college sports thing for about 18 years, since 2004. Yeah. And I've been on the radio from coast to coast, Sirius XM. I had a weekly spot for 2 hours with Bill King talking about recruiting. I've never been as comfortable and I think as entertaining on a show as I have with you guys. And that's a tribute to you guys for kind of, number one, establishing that repertoire and that comfort level. But then, number two, kind of allowing me to have the platform to do that, because it's I think it's been entertaining and informative, and I always say, if I can entertain and inform, a lot of guys can do either or, but I've always thought I could do both, and this show's allowed me to believe that. So thank you.
No, we thank you. You know that, and I've already talked to you earlier this week about it a little bit, but we'll certainly be in touch off the air more so in the next day or so as we kind of start to wind it down. And that was part of the reason Darren and I decided, let's just kind of get it out there today and not leave people hanging on Friday. We'll mix in sports with goodbyes and fun, and we owe it to all these people. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, we owe it to all of these people over here, and it's just crazy, man.
It's a true story. I mean, when he and I were talking about it and decided, okay, at the end of the conversation, that it would be Friday, the reason we decided to say it today was because of this relationship. I mean, this is it. Like, this is the reason. And that's a true story. And I'm glad we did it that way.
Yeah. I don't know, and it's what's really neat is, and we're going to talk sports, JC, and Darren and I might in just a minute say the hell with the break and just blow it off and let you ramble on as much as you want to.
Carolina just got a basketball commitment, by the way.
Yeah. I saw that. We're going to
come another Carolina.
We're getting right to that in just a second, but I'm the show. I'll miss the show because of the people. I won't miss the media. I've expressed that to you, JC. I won't miss the grind. Darren has expressed that. We're being honest with people about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to hide from there. It's just where we are. And but I just saw a minute ago, for instance, on Twitter, and we're going to speak to him tomorrow here on the air. But Coach Holbrook. I've known Chad for 13 years, and I adore Chad Holbrook. I adore him as a human being. Anybody that's ever met Chad Holbrook would know instantly this is a good dude. And that's what's been so neat being in media. Not just when I say this, I've probably gotten soft overnight, but it's hard for me even to do my job sometimes. And Darren, you know this, because we've developed relationships with people, and I know sometimes more than what meets the eye or comes through the mic, and I know what people go through as head coaches and as players and stuff like that, and I've almost gotten soft, like I hear things that people say about him, things like that, and it drives me insane. But it's been such an honor to develop relationships with him. And again, we're going to name all these people as the week goes on, but that's what's been cool to me is even when this mic cuts off, I can still call Chad Holbrook. I can still call JC Shurburtt or Derek Scott or Mark Kingston or whoever and talk to him like friends. And I'll have that the rest of my life. And that's what I'm proud of.
Yeah. My phone Rolodex is much cooler now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these are all good people, man. These are good people. And I'm proud of that. So with that said, we're not going to keep drowning everybody in this. I know people actually are like, okay, well, that's fine. Get off the air and let's talk about hoops. Because
move along now.
South Carolina is trying to rebuild their basketball program. And, they've gained a couple of commitments the last few days and just got a new one. Abrima Dima, right? Is how you say that. Am I correct? Is everybody sure on this? I've said his name before and I butchered it. I hope I didn't do it again, but he's a 6'6" guard transferring from Coastal Carolina, and good news because they beat the crap out of Carolina this year. So if you got to play him again, at least that cat ain't going to light you up anymore. But that's 3 now, right, guys? 3 in 3 days, 3 commitments.
Yeah, they got Michi Johnson. They got the kid from Citadel, Hayden Brown. Hayden Brown, that's his name.
Yep.
And then this one, and then some good news. They think it's going to be good news today. Malachi Smith, who was Chattanooga's outstanding point guard this year, announced he was going in the portal. He's going to kind of go through the draft process. From the time Lamont Paris was in the mix for the job, there's been speculation that he was, going to come to South Carolina. And there's a 20-point per game guy who, it's another guard, but certainly, when you start talking about, him, and then, Michi Johnson was a top 100 recruit. He just never kind of got his feet under him at South Carolina State. And you kind of start talking about all that, and it's like, well, the guards at least are coming together. And then this guy, Ibrima Diba, is also a bigger guard, 8.1 points, 5.4 assists, 4.8 rebounds a game this past season at Coastal. Coastal had another guy that was really, really good. I think the Gamecocks would have loved to have had, but this guy could be another sort of piece to the puzzle. I think foreign guy originally from Sweden, looks like at times he shot the 3 pretty well for a 6'6" guy. He was 34% last year. I know a lot of the Gamecock fans really have emphasized 3-point shooting when they're evaluating basketball recruits. And he's good from the free throw line, 80%, 75% the last 2 years. and can hit the board. So, maybe kind of an under the radar pickup. You see 6'6", 205. Some people think, Lakeem Jackson, and I think Lakeem Jackson's still something like 1 for 123 from the free throw line. This guy's hitting 80%. So if you can put him in position to get to the line, it could really help.
I thought he hit a couple towards the end of his career to improve that, but I might be wrong.
He hit one, and they got free Chick-fil-A one night. I remember that. That's the loudest the Colonial Life Arena ever gets.
I know. It's so embarrassing. It is interesting how the roster is coming together, though, because Josh Gray's still there. Trayvon Minot is still there. A couple of big guys who definitely have some work to do, but there are some things to like about him. Frank has said that before. I think Coach Paris has also commented on both of these guys. I'm sure they're going to end up adding another big man at some point. You're going to have to. But correct me where I'm wrong, and I'm asking both of you this. Darren, you saw a lot of Chattanooga play not only this year, but in the last few years under him. And JC, I know you've done your homework. It is a heavy guard run offense, if I'm correct on that, isn't it? You're a lot of 3 and 4 out there at times, correct? Isn't that right?
I think so. Darren, you go ahead.
They had a big this year, but if he wants to run it in the way Wisconsin ran it, in more of a slower tempo type offense, he wants everyone to be able to step out. The stretch 4, the stretch 5, he wants everyone to step out. It'll look like the new word, positionless basketball. I think ideally for him, that's what he can have.
Yeah, and he did say at Chattanooga he got away from the Wisconsin style, but when you look at some of the shooters they've got, one of the kids from Wofford is in the portal. I don't know if they're going to get him or not. But his name's Klein Smith. He's actually from Wisconsin. And is on a visit to Wisconsin, but he knows Coach Paris and all that. And I was told by a pretty good source that Klein Smith, probably would end up at Carolina. The kid from Citadel's not a super shooter from 3, but he and the kid from Coastal were both, kind of 30%ish. And another note, DJ Burns from Rock Hill, who's from Winthrop, averaged 15 points a game for the Eagles up there this year. He's in the portal now. So didn't he? Yeah, he almost came to Carolina. So if you're looking for a big, maybe there he is. But I do think that positionless basketball is probably something that the Gamecock fans wouldn't mind seeing. I thought that at times this past year, the bigs let Carolina down tremendously. I thought Woodley at times was the best one. Levesque was highly inconsistent, that type of thing. And really, since Kotsar left, that they haven't had that guy after having a Chris Silva and some dudes like that. So the Lithuanians from the beginning, I can't pronounce their names.
Kevicius and Kaichinus.
Kaichinus and Chektevicius. Those guys got better under Frank. And Frank's offenses are, designed to go low post and that kind of thing. I'll say this, though, about the bigs, especially if they get Burns. That'd be kind of nice, I think, for Paris.
Now, he used to be at Tennessee, right?
Tennessee.
Okay.
Came down a level, wasn't really getting a lot of run at Tennessee and had a really good year at Winthrop. Some guys it just takes a little while longer. But I'll say this, the best thing that could happen is for them. And I don't know what this staff is like developing big guys. I know Frank had a track record with it. If they can get Josh Gray going, and this is assuming he doesn't hit the portal, and I haven't heard he would. That's going to help them tremendously. I agree. That guy, I don't think he understands how good he is.
Or how good he can be.
Or how good he can be. He's 7 foot, 270. If you put him in a football program for a year, I think the guy could start an offensive tackle, tight end, or defensive end. That good of an athlete, that much of he's a grown man, he's got a beard. He looks like John Wallace from Syracuse from a few years back. And yet he won't dunk. He goes up and throws up a bunny or whatever. So, and look, he was hurt. He had some injuries, that kind of thing. Frank's staff loved him.
Yes.
I think it's probably a good thing for Lamont Paris and company that the guy didn't, he transferred from LSU. So hitting the portal again would force him to sit out.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's going to give it a shot. And I think that would be huge. And if you get, and I don't know if they'll get DJ Burns. I don't even know if they're interested in DJ Burns. But, Carolina was number 2 for Burns coming out. So we'll see. Get DJ Burns and this guy. I mean, all of a sudden you do have a front court. Burns, Gray, and you still have Minot, who have you guys confirmed, is he dating Aaliyah Boston? Is that true?
That's what we heard yesterday. Was that yesterday?
I've heard that.
Who said that? Was that Keith?
I don't know. I read it on a message board, so I have no idea.
There was some picture, right, that circulated, but I don't know if there's truth behind the word.
Where's the truth?
Yeah, I got a lot of things going on in life, and matchmaking with college basketball players isn't at the top of my list.
Not on my list.
Keeping up with the hoops relationships just ain't there.
I mean, Malachi Smith. Here's a guy from the great state of Illinois. 6'4", 205. I mean, I think he's an NBA player, quite frankly. And if he's a graduate, because I don't know, he transferred from Wright State to Chattanooga before the new rules. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a web. I don't know. I think the guy is a stud, and I think that he could be one of the best guards South Carolina's had in a long time if they can get him. Obviously, with Lamont Paris in that relationship, I think the Gamecocks have a good chance. But then I also think he's good enough to where Belleville, Illinois. I mean, the Illini are going to come calling. Notre Dame, all those schools up in that area. Even Dennis Gates over at Missouri. Because I believe Belleville is in what they call the downstate up here. But, I would hope, considering the rumors, I guess, that would be the case. Yeah, Belleville's in St. Louis, basically. So okay, he's really St. Louis. So if you're, maybe I know Dennis Gates is over there and is a stud recruiter and all that. Was at Cleveland State when he was at Wright State. But if Lamont Paris can land him and get Klein Smith from Wofford, and you got the guy from Coastal, and then you got the guy from Ohio State. I mean, that's a good backcourt because you still have Jacoby Wright and Chico Carter there. And, then it's a matter of bigs. But, yeah, there's no question about Malachi Smith being, very important if the Gamecocks can get him. And, before Lamont even got the job, I was told that was a safe bet. So, hopefully that happens. And I think if that's the case, whereas 2 weeks ago, it kind of looked like the Gamecocks may be, signing us up to go play, I think you got a chance in the first year and all that. You got to schedule smart. But my guess is, given the number of Southern Conference players he's targeted and all that, you'll probably see a Southern Conference heavy schedule in the preseason next year, which may not be that bad. I mean,
it's a good league.
I mean, you play the SoCon rather than, some of these other teams that have been on the schedule.
Like Boston University.
Yeah, you play in East Tennessee State, or you play a Furman, or you play
actually. Whoa. Those
They're
teams
better.
Are really
They're
good.
better than all of those teams. That's increasing the RPI of the schedule immediately.
Whoa, JC. Whoa. They need to be playing like North Carolina A&T, the School of the Deaf, Dumb, and Blind. Places like, let's get some wins under their belt, and then I don't think he's scheduling Chattanooga. He's not going to do that.
I played church league basketball, 6th grade, First Baptist Church, Spartanburg.
They need to schedule that team.
Our head coach was a South Carolina fan. So our jerseys were garnet and black, and there's a lot of Clemson people that go to that church. They were all ticked off there. I don't understand this, but we played the deaf and blind school, and it's an interesting experience. And if you ever do that, The blind kids obviously weren't all that good, but that
Jason.
never. Sorry, that was a long time ago. It was 6th grade. I know. I was going to say something really nice, and but it was.
You almost
really try hard, is what I was going to say. And all that. And anyway, that memory just came back when you said that. I mean, there is a deaf school in D.C. called Gallaudet or something. I wonder if they have a basketball team. I think they're D3.
Their football team, I don't know how good they are. I know they compete. I mean, just
I bet their offense is great. They don't have to worry about crowd noise.
I've read articles on it. You're spot on. There have been a couple Washington Post articles about just that.
Let's go play Notre Dame, man. Let's go to LSU. Who cares?
God.
That matters. But yeah, I mean, like. Getting back to the point, they need to be scheduling
what was the point of this?
Midlands Tech and Flodar Tech, and I mean, I don't know. You can play USC Upstate in a home, away, and neutral. Play them up at Spartan, play them in Columbia, then
right.
play them.
You realize that nobody cares what you're saying right now outside of everything you've already said.
I'm trying to
a minute ago.
It's like when you tweet something and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have tweeted that. So you just start tweeting everything else and pushing that bad boy down. You're like, because you don't want to back off and delete it, but then you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. So.
There was nothing wrong with what you said. Like, I understand completely.
It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't being rude, but I can't imagine that blind kids are very good at basketball. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's just true.
Now look, everybody did see the viral Instagram video of the blind girl tapping the basket. She had a tapper and had a noise thing on it. She found the bat. She was stuck in the room and she got it. Everybody saw that. That made everybody's day, so. Yeah. I just think basketball and baseball would probably be very difficult.
Yeah, it would be.
There is a slow pitch like softball league with a beeper in the ball. I think there's a league in town. Actually,
I didn't say softball because blind people have they can track it. It's a sonar kind of deal.
I bet golf would be unbelievable. Like you think about how you have to mentally see it,
figure out where it's going,
and be so perfect with your fundamentally. I bet on a serious note, I swallowed coffee down the wrong pipe laughing at you, man. You're gonna kill me today. Oh God. All right. Hey, can we take a break?
Yeah.
Sure.
Whew. Man, that was funny. All right, let's hit a timeout. We'll Darren, just a regular break if that's okay on your end.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back. And I'll tell you what, it's our last day on the air with JC Shurburtt. So how about some football?
Makes sense.
That sounds good?
Let's talk a little foosball. That's a great
We'll certainly get into that. I can't wait. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy.
I got honeybee feeding on my screen door. I got a little buzz in my head. So cause he come from a long line of sinners like me.
You were listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Don't cry for me when I'm gone. Just put a quarter in the jukebox and sing.
All right, 1:10 Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show. Today, brought to you by Palmetto Group Insurance, palmettogroupinsurance.com, owned by Jamie Richardson. He is a wonderful human being, and I hope that anybody that is in the insurance market will check out that website, palmettogroupinsurance.com, for whatever you may need in the insurance world. Check out Jamie. He's the man, and he's got a great name. Probably not. I know this. Educated, good hygiene, handsome, all those things. Any Jamie out there is probably someone you want to spend some time around. PalmettoGroupInsurance.com. I gotta say, man, man, Darren, I didn't realize we even had as many friends as we have. My phone's been going off, and I can't respond to everybody right now, but I will at some point in time here soon.
You're busy. Tell them to wait.
I know.
That's why you're getting out of media. Like, slow down.
Well, though, I'll tell you who the last two are. This isn't me just, this isn't me like I'm gloating. I'm just saying these two individuals should know. The last two are Mark Kingston and Skylar Mead. Guys, y'all know I'm on the air till 2:00. I mean, don't you have other things to do, like coach baseball or, recruit or something? No, those are two awesome dudes, and really appreciate them. I'll tell you what, man, damn Skylar screwed it all up, Darren. When he took that job at Troy, it ruined everything. I used to have so much fun with him every week, just talking about literally everything under the sun. I'm just kidding.
Great. And he's having success at Troy, so that's cool too.
He is. Skylar is a big time guy, and he's going to be big time. But that's okay. We replaced him with Scott Wingo.
Oh, man.
Shoot. I mean, heck, dang. All right, JC, back to you. Sorry about that, bud. You all right over there? I don't think
you know what? I
knew to call wind of the finale here. And so,
what happened?
People on the Big Spur have called on to the fact that it's the finale, and so
not yet. Friday is.
Well, but yeah, this is the last show on Friday, and so obviously there's people speculation, creative differences.
Oh
no, let's just automatically assume. Oh God, they'll do a True Hollywood story. The True Hollywood story. JB and Goldwater.
You know what? I tell you what, Darren. Somebody could do an True on us. How much? What do you want for that? You name it. I'll be right there beside you. You just throw out a number.
Well, I mean, I'll give you all the fake information you want if you want to hit my number.
Yeah.
I'll make it juicy.
For $1 million? Oh, Darren snuck into my house. He stole my dog.
Every lie in the book, man. Yeah. How much you going to give me? I'll tell you whatever you want to know. How much
do you want to hear?
No, guys, we're being completely serious. Like we're thrilled with everything we've done, and we both are ready. So we're cool. You can get off the hat.
It's okay. I will be in real estate. If you want to get a hold of, if you want to buy a house or sell a house, and there's somebody that wants to, I'll see you personally. I'll come right in your door. Matter of fact, I'll stick my name in your yard if that's something you would like me to do. So don't. As I mentioned to Darren earlier, I'm not big on promoting myself, but I'm going to do it the next 3 days. So if you need something in that market, make sure you let me know. That's it. So, all right, JC. So will Carolina win 10 games this year?
Ooh.
I mean, this is our final 30 or so minutes with you. We're going way off the cliff. Piss everybody off out there that doesn't like what we say. I'm going to go with 11-1. And they get beat by Georgia State and win the rest of them. I'm just kidding.
Nah, that would be actually something that would be. I mean, hey, look, gosh, I guess it was 87. It was 86. LSU lost at home to Miami of Ohio and won the rest of their games until they got to the Sugar Bowl against Nebraska. They won the SEC. But that was in the 80s, you know. So, and everybody remembers in 84, the Gamecocks almost lost to Citadel in the opener and then won the rest of them. That Michigan team that lost to App State actually ended up going 9-4 and beating the Tim Tebow Heisman team from Florida in the Citrus Bowl. Because I was going to cover the Under Armour game. This was 2008, New Year's Day. Landed in Orlando. Found out Michigan had beaten Florida, and Urban Meyer's on the post game from the Gator Network, and he's just like, "Oh my God, blah 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 blah." And then at the end, he was like, "We're going to continue to, fight for our goals, which is to be the New England Patriots of college football." And that stuck with me. But I remember that Tebow sophomore year, they lost to the Michigan team that lost to App State in that game. So stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Well,
we're not predicting that.
I mean, I don't know, guys. You know, you look at it. I mean,
I'm not predicting. Hey, I was just kidding, dude. We're not predicting their record in late April.
Look, if everyone stays healthy, there's a lot of ifs. With every football season, there's ifs. And I went through this, and I wrote an article about it today on the Big Spur. Take the names out of it. Take the names off the front of the jersey. Forget who's coaching. And there's people out there that I don't think pay any lick of attention to South Carolina's roster at all. None. Just don't. Out there in the national media, they just glance at the recruiting rankings like, oh, they should probably suck.
Yeah.
All right, so here, so the name's out of it. So offensively, Gamecocks have a 5-star quarterback, Heisman Trophy contender at the start of last season. Behind him, they got a top 100 guy who started 5 games in the SEC and is finally healthy. On top of that, they brought in an Under Armour All-American and a 4-star prospect from Alabama for the future. Running back, a borderline 5-star prospect is going to start. Behind him is the leading rusher for one of the most prolific offenses in the country last year on a team that won a division title in the ACC and unseeded Clemson. Then there's Juju McDowell. Then there's Rashad Amos. And then behind all those guys is Lavassier Carroll, who I finally figured out who he reminds me of running style-wise is Wayne Gallman.
Oh.
Close. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it hit me in the face, both from Georgia.
I see that.
There, Wayne Gallman. That's Lavassier. So you got Wayne Gallman sitting back there. Wide receiver, you got a 4-star Under Armour All-American who led him in receiving last year. A lot of people thought Van was the top prospect in the country. Then there's a guy coming in from FCS who caught 80 passes, and Wells, who's there, who a former Alabama assistant compared him on. This is not like rumor. This was in the newspaper. Compared him to the receivers they have at Alabama. And it's Vinny Sunseri that said it, who's Sal Sunseri's son, and it's a great, that's a guy that knows a little bit about talent. You have Jaheim Bell, who's one of the, most prolific, dynamic playmakers. You got the guy that led that tied Calvin Johnson's record for touchdowns at Georgia Tech as a true freshman. You got a guy like Leggett who's finally healthy. Then you've got other guys coming in. A guy that led Arkansas State in receiving, and then one of the best high school wide receivers from the state of Texas, South Lake Carroll, of all places. So then offensive line, we can say what we want. There's nobody in the two deep that's not at least in their third year. They have 139 combined starts on this offensive line. So tight end, you got Bell, like I said. And then, oh, by the way, Carolina beat Oklahoma and Florida for him in recruiting, even though he wasn't a four-star for whatever reason. That just baffles me. Austin Stogner was a four-star coming out and was at Oklahoma, and he had a health setback. But you look at his highlights from Oklahoma, dang, he made a lot of great plays. You know, plus the Gamecocks beat out mighty Ohio State for him out of the portal. So if you're one of these people that just looks at who's offered him, what's their star rating, you know, there you go. You know, and then behind those guys, you know, you got veterans like Trey Kenyon, who was almost a four-star receiver out of North Carolina. And then they just brought in Atkins kid to be a Pat DeMarco type, in my opinion. You know, defense, you're going to start 5-star, 4-star, 5-star, and the guy that led the country in sacks 2 years ago, who's an emerging star. You know, at linebacker, you got two guys you're going to start that are combined 47 years old. Oh, man. You know, one was a 4-star prospect, and the other staff got him as a buck and an end. But Georgia and Clemson both evaluated Brad Johnson and said, "Now we think he's a Mike linebacker. He's just a little bit below our board." Well, he's finally a linebacker, and it's his second year. At one corner, you have a guy that was a borderline 5-star prospect in Cam Smith. Another guy on the other side is a 6'2", 196-pound guy that runs 4.5, and vertical's 40 inches plus, and has long arms. And he's platooning with a JUCO transfer who, had he had grades out of Woodruff High School, would have probably been a top 150 prospect in America. Okay. Mm-hmm. Behind him, you got a freshman from Miami that's 6'3.5. Another in-state JUCO guy that had the redshirted last year. At safety, you got a guy that was all MAC, that had a pick six at LSU, who's a baller. Another spot, you got R.J. Ryder. He's a fifth-year player and has started 33 career games. If the light can come on for Jalen Foster, it can come on for R.J. Ryder. You know, behind them, you got a guy from the Pac-12 that started as a true freshman at Washington State, plus a 4-star guy out of Pennsylvania, and a bunch of great walk-ons, I think. Special teams, Mitch Jeter has one of the strongest legs on the team. And, oh, by the way, if he falters, you got Mick Luckhurst kid coming in. Remember Mick Luckhurst from the Falcons? From the Falcons. Jack Luckhurst transfers in from Arizona State, where he's 9 for 9 field goals last year. The punter is one of the best in the country. Kai Kroger, he's a lefty. Oh, and by the way, Juju McDowell, one of the most electric return guys in the country, is back returning kicks. And Van's back to return punts, although we'll see who actually wins that job. So when you talk about it like this, nobody's describing Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, Clemson, those schools. But what about that next tier? What's really the difference? What's really the difference when you look at this roster and what it is on paper? Games are not won and lost on paper, but what is it? Because everybody wants to talk about on paper. What's the difference between that and, a place like Florida or Tennessee?
And in year two.
Now, there's caveats. There's a lot of other things that go into winning and losing football games. But, you like the attitude and you like the roster on paper. And I honestly, somebody put the Gamecock in the power rankings and then 9th behind Mississippi State. Power rankings are kind of supposed to be based on, I don't know, power. I don't know. I've never gotten an explanation. Power rankings are not predictions. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But 9th, I've seen them as low as 12th in the SEC, and I'm like, I just don't know. I understand.
I don't know that that's a bad thing.
I understand the roster's not going to look like Georgia's.
No, but JC, I don't know that that's a bad thing. Honestly, I think if the fans in this state are paying attention to the football program, they don't need that to be educated on what is inside of that building. And if you're Shane Beamer, you're still, obviously he's in year 2. You're still in that window of being able to utilize the the outside noise or quote unquote disrespect, play that card. And you know what I mean? Like, it's still young enough in your career at this school to play that angle. And then you prove yourself out of it. I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves, and Darren said it 1,000 times, and he's right. He's dead on about another coach out there who always plays the disrespect card. I'm like, you've won 2 national championships. Who the hell disrespects you? You know, but you're in that time frame right now where you can play it. I don't know if it's true or not, JC. We'll find out. I mean, they might end up being the 10th best team in the league this year. Might end up being the 4th best team. We don't know. But for talking season, which is approaching us rapidly, that's the card that you can use with things like that, with a program that's added a bunch of talent that nobody knows about, seemingly, outside of Spencer Rattler and Stogner.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and that's, you know, I kind of like that. That's why I like for them to get guys like Antoine Wells, because Juice Wells. All right. So by the time
that kid's good.
Juice got in the portal, immediately Texas offered, Florida offered, North Carolina offered, Penn State, everybody in the country, Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Well, nobody really knew about it because he got in the portal a week before he committed. He came to Carolina, was just going to go check North Carolina out, and then didn't. And then they got him, you know. But meanwhile, you know, Sarkisian out at Texas wanted him, needed him. You know, same thing with Devontae Reed. You know, and the average fan, and really, unfortunately, because there's so many guys that I'm convinced love star ratings and hanging out on the internet more than they actually love the game of football, that cover this sport these days, you know, that they don't, you know, they're not taking the time to research it. And that's why I like guys from the lower level coming up. You know, and all of that, because it's kind of funny. The guy that transferred from the highest profile program is probably going to wait a year before he gets on the field in Lamasi Carroll. And I just want to point this out, okay? Everybody loves Georgia, right? And everybody's fired up about what they did, and congrats to the Dogs. And, you know, they're so awesome. Some of their fans are sending me private messages on Big Spur. I've never said anything negative about them. And I got one the other day. It's like, you're a clown. Go Dogs. I think I was like, buddy,
that can't be surprising to you.
That dude's still in Indianapolis drinking bourbon. You know? And I don't blame him. Hell, I would too if I.
You've been doing this a long time, right? Like, there's nothing shocking about that to you, is there?
I've always had a great relationship. I just sit back, LOL. That's what. If anybody kind of attacks me like that, I used to kind of get scary back. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen to my safety and all that. But then I decided, you know, I'm not a female body part, so I'm, you know, and I see so many people totally overreacting about that. They're like, I just feel bad for my safety, and it's affecting my mental health. And I'm like, oh, my, well, whoa, you need to tighten up, Buttercup. You know,
yeah.
It's just a private message from like Dog 8555. You know, I mean, he didn't threaten you. He's not like calling your house, going, I know where you live. You know, it's not like Georgia fans, but let's just kind of look at who they lost. Look who Georgia's lost, right? And instead of just going, well, they recruit in the top 3 every day, Jenny. You know, let's keep in mind the only school that keeps recruiting over and over and has sustained it in the SEC, especially. No offense to the folks in the upstate. Who did sustain it as well, or Ohio State or Oklahoma. But in the SEC, what's the one program sustained it? Alabama. Mm-hmm. They sign the number 1 class every year. Georgia's not there yet. Well, but Georgia did a great job of putting together the one shining moment team. And I'm not saying they're not going to win the division, or I mean, I think they'll be a lot like maybe they were in 2020.
I think they will win the division. I think they'll win it handedly. Personally,
well, they lost George Pickens, who didn't play a lot, but when he did, he made an impact. Up front, they lost Jamari Saylor, a senior, Justin Safer, a senior. They only lost 1 tight end. They're loaded there. They lost their top 2 backs in James Cook and Zamir White. Mm-hmm. They lost Trayvon Walker, who may be the number 1 pick in the draft. Actually, I would pick him number 1. 6'5", 251, 4'5", in the 40, 45 inch. I mean, where are you going to find a freak like that? And he played like it. They lost the big freak in the middle, Jordan Davis. They lost Devontae Wyatt, who was a starter. They lost Adam Anderson, a starter. They lost Nakobe Dean, who I thought, outside of Will Anderson from Alabama, who's more of a pass rusher, I thought Nakobe was the best linebacker in college football by a long shot. Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, two more veteran guys that were seniors. They lost Lewis Seen, a safety, and they lost to Darian Kendrick. And they lost their kickoff guy, which I don't think matters. Okay, so that's a lot. All those guys, every one of those guys is going to play in the NFL. And I think every single one of them, with the exception of maybe one of the linemen and then John Fitzpatrick, will be off the board before we get to Saturday. All right? So who do they have left? Well, at receiver, it's not pretty. Adonai Mitchell's pretty good. Kearis Jackson's pretty good. Then Ladd McConkey. Now, they do have Brock Bowers back. They have 3 starters on the line. They've got Stetson Bennett, who you don't want to underestimate. But then their backfield's like Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton, who, I had some questions about him being a 5-star. And then, they're going to have backs, but they're not going to have those 2 veterans. And then defense, look at this. Tramel Walthor, who's a kind of a journeyman transfer. The nose tackle goes from Jordan Davis to Zion Logue. Jalen Carter's back. He's good. Nolan Smith's back. He's good. The linebackers, the Mac Money and Sam, that's what they call it there, are all new except Robert Beal, who's, a very good player, kind of like Quay Walker. And then in the backfield, you got Kylie Ringo. You got Poole, who played a little bit, but who else do you have? So Georgia really?
Well, they don't have Lavoisier Carroll.
They don't. No. but look, guys, all these guys I just mentioned that are playing for them next year are very good players. But they're not even close to the elite level of the guys that, you wait for the draft and see just how many not only great, talented players Georgia had last year, but how many veterans. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a lot of these guys on that defense, which was historically great and elite, historically. That the season before, during COVID, I'm sitting there watching a cocktail party, and Florida's got 38 on them before halftime. So
well, I'll say this about Georgia. By the way, do either one of you realize who their first game is?
Oregon.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And who coaches Oregon?
Their guy,
Dan Lanning.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's going to be the head coach at Oregon, which, I get it. I get the TV game. I understand the reasoning behind it. I get all the money. But, might as well just play the game in Sanford Stadium. They're playing in Atlanta. What the hell is good as that do Oregon? They're still flying all the way to Georgia, but they are playing in a pro ballpark. And there's nothing 50-50. Anybody that says the tickets are 50-50, have you ever seen Georgia play in Atlanta where the tickets are 50-50? They're not even 50-50 at Georgia Tech games.
Dude, Georgia Tech was a sea of red this year, which I thought at that point when I watched – because there was a drone shot over Grant Field. And I went to the Georgia Tech game in 2003. 2 was in Atlanta. And look – Auburn played there that year too, so did Clemson. And when those schools come in, it's close to 50-50. But Tech still has its fans. The drone shot I saw from this year's game was just nothing but red. And I asked somebody, is this doctored or something? No. I was also at the Alabama-Georgia National Championship game in Atlanta in 2017. 30, and as close as Tuscaloosa is, it was 70-30 Dogs. And I was also at the 2012 SEC Championship game with Georgia and Bama. And Bama brought a little more that time, but it's still like 60-40 Georgia. So, yeah, that's a home game for the Dogs. And look, man, I'm sorry. I know enough, and I can't confirm it. I think Dan Lanning got a lot of credit for that defense at Georgia last year. But if I were a Dog, I wouldn't be,
I know where you're going with this.
I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Dan Lanning.
No. We all know, regardless of how people differ with what I'm going to say here,
Yeah, you're probably going to make a lot of Gamecocks mad.
I don't care. It's still the truth.
It's the truth.
Will Muschamp is the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator last year, even it said special teams. And anybody that has an opportunity to hire Will Muschamp as a DC, you're a damn fool if you don't. He's still one of the best DCs in college football, period, flat out, the end. I mean, Kirby's the head coach, and I get it. But, and this has nothing to do with what he did as a head coach. You say whatever you want about that. It wasn't a success. I know that. But there's a reason why everybody in the country still wants this cat to be their DC if they can get him and afford him. So the fact that Dan Lanning is gone, and what did we say yesterday, Darren Schumann? Is it Dan Schumann? Or
ODC. There was Schumann. Yeah,
the Schumann guy who's quote unquote co-defensive coordinator.
Yeah, nice title.
Yeah, Kirby Smart's helping out your career by slapping that tag on you, but you ain't calling plays on Saturday, Bubba. Will Muschamp's in the booth, and that's who's going to be calling plays on Saturday. I mean, JC, that's why I think that they naturally it is easy to believe they're going to take a step back on defense, and I agree with that. I don't disagree with that at all until they prove that we're all wrong, which they probably will. It's easy to believe that they're expected to take a step back. But Will Muschamp has long known what to do with 5-star blue chip guys on defense. He's done it his whole career. He did it in LSU. He did it at Texas. I mean, if you put him in a blue chip program, right, JC, not blue collar, blue chip, he's fine. He can get those guys. He can dial it up. They're smart enough to figure out what he's talking about. He'll pump them into the NFL, and that's their defense is going to be really good again.
Sure. And look, if he'd have had, more time at Auburn, his second time there, I think he'd have been fine. I think, a lot of people talk about at Texas, his numbers were not as good, but that league, and then you're dealing with Texas on top of that. But I'll tell you this, I felt like, last year was a sort of a perfect storm for Georgia's D. And part of that was Will Muschamp coming in and helping. I think even as an analyst, he would have been valuable down there. And I think Kirby's smart himself. I mean, man, you start talking about Kirby and Will on the same defensive staff.
It's pretty
That's
crazy.
A lot of defensive brain power there. I mean, that's nothing to shake a stick at, right? That's those guys.
Hey,
those guys know ball. I mean,
just out of curiosity, who is the new defensive coordinator at Florida? Do y'all know?
It's a guy from the NFL.
Okay.
Kirk. Hold on, Florida DC.
I just didn't know.
Not Todd Grantham.
No, I know that.
I looked at Florida DC and I got Florida Department of Correction.
That's exactly what I'm dealing with right now as well.
That's the same thing, JC. Haven't you followed Florida football?
Exactly.
Florida. I read there's these Florida man stories.
No, who's the DC now? Not during the Urban Meyer era.
John Spencer. John Spencer.
Well, I just think that the East is so interesting because Georgia, and you just hit the nail on the head. They got two of the best minds in the sport together. Mark Stoops and what they do at Kentucky is elite defensively. Clark Lee is now at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt doesn't have the players, but as time goes on, via transfer portal and things of that nature, and just by nature, because this guy is he's a developer. If anything, my prediction is Vanderbilt will at least play well defensively in the future. I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know if they can get the players. And then, I don't know what to say about the rest of those guys, but the one dude who he'll start to pick up more steam this year once they get back on the field. And towards the end of the year, I think people started to notice, Clayton White, JC, nobody knew who he was for a while. And then even Coach Beamer has told the stories. From what I understand, these are dead on true stories. Beamer's phone was ringing about Clayton White, and not just in college football either. So, he's a guy that there's immense respect for out there. You add the rest of that staff, Torian Gray and all those guys. Like the SEC East has really good defensive dudes, and everybody's going to focus like we have been on what Georgia has leading their defense. But I mean, you look at the track record up at Kentucky, you throw Clayton White into this mix now, and Clark Lee and stuff like that. I mean, it's going to kind of continue to be, I would think, overall, the better half of the league defensively. We'll see.
And to that point on Spencer, I knew the name, so I went a little deeper. He was with Franklin and Penn State for a long time.
Yeah, old Vandy stuff.
He's highly, highly regarded. Then he went to the Giants and down to Florida.
The guy that's going to straw the drink, the straw that's going to stir the drink down there is Patrick Toney, the who came with Billy from Louisiana. He, of course, when Napier was in the mix for the South Carolina job, you do all this research on his staff. And the two studs from Louisiana are the three. Jabbar Jalouk, the running backs coach, was a guy that they really were fired up about. And then Rob Sale, who was the O-line coach, offensive coordinator, and then Patrick Toney. Toney and Sale in particular, along with Jalouk. So that's probably the guy. I think he'll call it. Sean Spencer's got the title. Corey Raymond's the assistant head coach of defense. So who knows? They gave out all these titles down there, right? And they got all these, like, I got 1 million people on staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't mean to laugh, but it was just kind of funny. But
yeah, I know the what's the special teams coordinator's name or the title? It's like director of like locker room fun or something. Something stupid. I mean,
Mike Peterson's the assistant coach, outside linebackers, and alumni.
Yeah, have immense respect for him though.
Game changer coordinator.
Yeah, game changer. Well, look, if you think about it, there's truth in that. It's just silly, but it is what it is. Thank you.
Chris Couch is his name.
Yep.
Yeah. Game changer coordinator. Well, it better be good. He better not change the game for the worst, because if you do, you're going to need to probably change the title as well instead of game changer coordinator. To the chat lines here, Craig, I'm not sure if Craig's asking, like, why did our safeties he's Craig's Gamecock fan. Why were they not good for 5 years?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what part of our conversation he's referencing, but why were they not good? I'd tell you because the guy that ran the defense wasn't good, and the head coach, JC, is you jump in here. I mean, Will Muschamp literally handed the keys over and was like, "You do it." I'm not making excuses for him. That's just my understanding.
You look at Muschamp's coaches. I think everybody agrees Kurt Roper will probably never be an OC again. But he was kind of the guy that worked for the guy. But and it was BMAC really an OC. No, I mean, I think the only real OC he had was Mike Bobo, and it's no coincidence that year, if you look at the talent versus production, even with nobody playing defense, he's the only offensive coordinator Muschamp had that maximized anything, right? Mm-hmm. But you look at the coaches that were at Carolina under Muschamp, and hell, all of them are at Alabama and Georgia now. I mean, every one of them.
I know.
Hutzler caught a lot of crap from Gamecock fans because he finished second on every single recruit, it seemed. Well, now he's going to finish first because he's got the script A on his chest.
He's at Alabama.
Eric Wolford caught all kinds of crap, because everybody expects freaking perfection on the O-line. And I think you're about to see how good Eric Wolford actually is. Brian McClendon is at Georgia, back at Georgia as the receivers coach, BMAC, right there. Muschamp's at Georgia. Bobo's at Georgia in an off-the-field role right now, getting paid by Auburn, which is delicious. Travaris Robinson's at Alabama. Okay, so T-Rob sucks. And look, Travaris Robinson, I wouldn't even come close to saying he did a good job at South Carolina because I don't think he did.
No,
I don't think he necessarily recruited all that hard or that well. He got a few guys early out of South Florida. Then Carolina was just kind of dead down there. Will Muschamp got a lot of these recruits. I wouldn't say he did a good job. I think he did a good job coaching up individual players and getting them ready for the NFL. And that's been proven out over time. But at Alabama, where all you got to do is coach corners, you're in the same system that you know like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
You are going to have to work harder in recruiting, but really, are you? You're at Alabama, right? Until you start not getting guys. I think he's in a great situation, and then what took the cake with a lot of Gamecock fans who just I think they're really upset about the Muschamp era, so they want to trash everybody, is when Joe Cox got the job coaching tight ends for Saban. And honestly, Joe's position did not have a good year last year, or that year in 2020. But man, I mean, I just don't think as a young coach like that, stepping into the situation with the pandemic, with all the changes going on, and with the depletion of that group, and then a lot of guys that we know can't play dead in a movie. That's an impossible situation, coaching wise, for a young coach like that. Especially considering, with the pandemic and all, it kind of just came in under the cover of night and left. So a lot of people were like, Joe Cox, terrible, whatever. Well, it turns out he's not terrible. He just probably wasn't ready to do that at Carolina. So, they're going to do a 30 for 30 one day on Will Muschamp, I believe. And it's going to go through everything, like the fact that he's all of a sudden become this kingmaker with assistant coaches and stuff, because everybody he works for gets better job, or work for him get a better job, and then they're going to interview him and talk to him and dig into why he wasn't better as a head coach in two different situations. Why did they peak in their second year? Why did the bottom fall out at both places like it did? And then we'll see. And they'll probably do the 30 for 30 after he gets a job in the pros and wins the Super Bowl.
Wouldn't that be a story?
And it's the craziest thing, right? And I do want to, get on from Coach Muschamp in just a second. Coach Beamer's at Carolina now. He's entering his second season.
Yeah. I don't think Beamer's done a great job.
He has. But I mean, with Will, I think a lot of people, and I'm not just limiting this to the South Carolina fan base. I'm limiting this to the Florida, or going back to the Florida fan base really as well. Those two in particular, kind of forget about the full story of Will Muschamp. They only see it from the moment he stepped on campus until the moment he left, basically, and what happened after that. But I mean, before he got to Florida, JC, I mean, he was the head coach in waiting at Texas, and this wasn't the Texas that we've been watching the last few years. I mean, he was the head coach in waiting for a program that had just won a national championship, and under Mac Brown, right? I mean, they were one of the true powers in college football at that time. It's important. The context is important here, because you're not chosen as a head coach in waiting for a program that's on top of the world unless they have a lot of faith that you're going to be pretty good at it. Mm-hmm. Now, Texas probably escaped a major problem there. Of course, I don't know what they've really done since then either, but he's still an elite mind. And I'll add this too, JC, you've known Will Muschamp a long time. If you didn't know that he was the guy that, kind of was the leader of your program when it ran itself into the ground, and you just happened to be at a bar or wherever, and you started talking to this guy, you'd love him. I mean, he's a great dude. He's fun. He's a nice guy. He's got a sense of humor. I mean,
so many people have him pegged wrong. Wow.
Absolutely. Like what you would see on camera and on the sidelines and stuff, like
totally different.
It's night and day. I mean, Beamer has some of that. You see a lot of it publicly. You're like, man, this cat, he's just charming, ultra soft. And then you get behind closed doors and you're like, oh my God, Shane Beamer can get on your rear end if he needs to.
It's people misunderstand Frank Martin too in that same way. But with Frank, it was a little different. Frank would have I don't know. I think the portion of the fan base that just never liked him because, he cussed or whatever. They were never going to like him regardless. And that's just, who am I to tell somebody? I mean, that's like me getting mad at somebody because they don't think Eddie Murphy Delirious is funny, right? That's your moral compass. You don't believe in it, fine. Sell your tickets. And when there's a new coach in 10 years, you could bring your, instead of bringing your 6-year-old, you bring your 16-year-old back and, and all that. But I think what Frank would do is Frank really endeared himself to the fans and to the media, like during his press conferences when he go on these, he'd talk about, he'd have these parables or these life lessons, and, this introspection and things like that. And it was awesome. It was a breath of fresh air because at the same time you're listening to Mark Kingston and Will Muschamp and the other sports. So basketball is kind of like, let's listen to Frank, got it back with Spurrier. But kind of the Spurrier. Muschamp did himself zero favors in the press conference setting. And you're absolutely right. If you're talking to the guy outside of that setting and there's talk ball with him or even just,
cool dude,
watch him interact with a recruit and his parents, completely like, you think he's this all business ogre type guy.
Yeah.
Like Ogre from freaking Revenge of the Nerds. He's not. He's actually extremely smart. And, that's another shame. So, I don't think he did himself any favors with the media. I think at South Carolina, he tried to do too much himself. I don't think you can be the special teams coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the recruiting coordinator, the coach. I just can't.
You can't. You absolutely can. And day one, he said it, and it sounded good. It sounded great, as a matter of fact. We won't sign anybody here that I haven't, overseen that. Yeah. We won't offer one kid here that I'm not offering personally, basically. And it got to a point where I think that was some of his problem, having too much control of things. You got to be able to delegate. You got to trust the guys you're delegating to.
And then I started peeling back the layers, and some of the things he did delegate, some of the guys that you would expect would have done a little bit better job for him did not.
Yeah.
And so, that's the Will Muschamp story. But look, the last day I'm on this show, I don't want to go too far.
Well, I love what Jamie Churchill said here. that hot mic for that was the best thing ever. I wish they would have played it in the stadium.
Dude, I know. And then some clown. I thought it was funny that it was out there because I thought it was great.
Did they ever fire that kid? Who did it?
I don't even know who did it. But whoever did it's a clown because that obviously got some people fired up. But it was the 2020 season because I'm sitting there on the porch in Greenville. I'd gone to see my buddy. We're waiting on that game. And I just, gotten that as like Cape Cod Nation, the fuck up. I was like, oh my God. I was like,
they should have played it in the stadium and just bleeped out that one word. That's it. Just beep.
The place would have erupted.
Oh, it would have gone nuts.
It's gone nuts.
But they still can't fix the hot dog stand. I mean, if some people would have been happy for a moment, then pissed
that's
off.
true. Yeah.
They'll
find something else to. Yeah. Nonetheless, he is now at Georgia, and he'll be returning to South Carolina in week 3 with the Dogs. Which, all right, JC, I'm not going to ask you to do anything predicting from a prediction standpoint outside of this. I'm going to write it down. And I'll address it with you on September the 11th. Will South Carolina open the year 2-0, which would mean wins against Georgia State and at Arkansas? It is a yes or no answer.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. You're wrong.
You're wrong.
It's hard to predict anybody going to Arkansas and winning right now. Arkansas got it going, man.
But if you ask me, are they going to start 2-1? I may lean toward yes.
What?
All right.
Wait a second. You're saying they go to Arkansas and lose and then come home and beat the Dogs?
He kind of laid that out for a little bit earlier.
Think about every season. Like about all the seasons when we go through and we see win, loss. Does it ever turn out that way?
What the hell just happened?
It's South Carolina football, man. I mean,
if they start the year 2-1, they're going to start the year 4-1 because you better hope if you beat Georgia, you ain't going to turn around and lose to Charlotte and South Carolina State.
No. Now, I think it's one of those who are the people in your neighborhood non-conference schedules this year. Like you got Georgia State, they're going to come in sky high, right?
Yeah.
And they play up to their competition a lot. Now, everybody focuses on them beating Tennessee and almost beating Auburn, but I believe they lost 66-17 to North Carolina last year in Chapel Hill. So, this game's going to mean a whole lot to Sean Elliott.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And they're going to, and that game's scary because they have a lot of kind of special things they do on offense. Yeah. And Elliott's kind of that kind of coach, man. They even when he was the interim at Carolina, think about it. He did lose the Citadel. But what people don't realize is he was close to beating A&M on the road, close to beating Tennessee in Knoxville. And Tennessee was actually good under Champions of Life that year.
How was that game?
We
should have won that game. Jarrell Adams dropped the damn ball after he was running in the end zone.
He would have maybe scored. Yeah. Perry Orth would have become Perry Orth had so many games where he would have almost become legendary. And I feel bad for him because I love the guy. I think he's a great guy.
He's legendary to me.
Perry, the first game at A&M after the win over Vandy, I'm sitting there and I had a rough – I think that's right after I'd resigned from 24/7 and just gone Big Spur. So I'm sitting there having a beer in downtown Greenville when my girlfriend at the time was going to do a remote or something, and I was by myself. And I remember sitting there texting G.A. Mangus because I was like, man, you're killing John Chavis right now. And I look up, and Perry Orth goes around the corner on a quarterback keeper. And I took a sip of my beer, and I look up, and he's still running. I'm like, wow, And I look down, I checked my phone, and I look back up, and he's still running. I took another swig of my beer.
Did your
and then I noticed this pretty girl walk in and winked at her. I look up, and then I took another swig of beer, and finally they tackled Perry. That was the 8. And Keith Alsep was there, and he told me, he was like, dude, it was that long, really. And so I'd never seen a play go for that long, for that slow of a time period, right? It's like time stood still.
Yeah.
Until the Damani Staley pick 6 in East Carolina this past year. And then I was like, I think I ate a sandwich during that time. So yeah, that was great. But people don't realize that Sean, heck, they almost knocked off Clemson that season. It was a 5-point game, and they don't realize that. But they also, I think, people don't realize that Army beat them 43-10, North Carolina 59-17, App State 45-16, and they did get better as the year went on. Their only loss was to the Raging Cajuns and Napier by 4, but they did lose some people. Some personnel off last year's team or whatever. Then they have some guys coming back. So you got them in the neighborhood. You got Charlotte and Will Healy, and he beat Duke last year for one of his like signature wins, right?
Yeah.
But they also lost to Georgia State. But Will probably needs more signature wins because they lost like 5 of their last 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be important for those guys. And then South Carolina State. Who I think has one of the best offensive coordinators.
Keep an eye on Bennett Swigert.
That level, Bennett Swigert, and a hell of a receiver. They're coming up, and sometimes and they get up for that game and they get tricky. So, we'll see sort of what happens. Charlotte could very well be sitting there at 4-0. Could have gotten Loxley fired at Maryland because they play them at home. It could have beaten Sean Elliott in Atlanta. And they could be 4-0 heading to play the mighty Gamecocks after that special upset over Georgia. So it's kind of the non-conference schedule, beyond Clemson's, it should be 3 wins. I mean, something's wrong if it's not, but they're all your neighbors, and they're all, unlike an Eastern Illinois, is going to come in and be like, let's play the second string the second half. That job is so bad at Eastern Illinois. That guy left, and he's assistant coach at Duke now. He didn't get fired either. He just left. I'm out. I'm going to go to Durham. Eastern Illinois actually has more fans than Duke does. But, I was like, he's probably tired of freezing on the prairie and losing football games. He's like, I'm out. They can hire Jimmy Garoppolo when the alum Jimmy Garoppolo when he gets out or whatever. So, but it's not like playing one of these teams from far off where they're happy to be playing in an SEC stadium and all that, but they don't, they didn't grow up with the guys on the team, that they're playing against. So
Right.
there's something to be said about that. Like I said, I'm not going to be like a worrying Wilma here about these games, but they're your neighbors, and all these players played high school ball against all Carolina's players, and they're going to be fired up.
That's a good point.
Well, JC, it is at the end of the hour for us, so we're got to let you run on that note. But from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you for 2 unbelievable years, and we'll miss Wednesdays. There's no doubt about that, and not like you and I won't talk. We'll probably talk in 10 minutes, but. Doing this, we'll miss this. I'll miss this a lot. And Darren and I have been so lucky to have you every week. It's been an honor. You're a pro. You're a great dude, number one. And you've helped build us to what we've gotten to over the last couple of years. You've been an enormous part of that, allowing your whole staff to be a part of it, always promoting us on the Big Spur, which we have enormous respect for. It's been a lot of you that's helped us here, and so we say thank you. And
thank you guys.
It's a pleasure, man.
It's been the honor of a lifetime being a part of this show, and like I said, one of the best things I've ever done in my career, and it just sort of helped me evolve, and for good or bad, but that's that means a lot. And Wednesdays are not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So, with that,
you got Wednesday mornings in Tuscaloosa. Nothing's
always got Wimp and Barry. I think I've been doing that for a year longer than you guys. So I've always got Wimp and Barry, and I'll probably feel the same way when I sign off with those 2 jokers, because they always Wimp's always like, I think you're very smart, JC. Thank you. Wimp, I was like, I used to be a little kid on the couch watching Wimp coach basketball.
I know
for all that. So and I appreciate the fans here. That's that was a really nice. Sometimes it's nice to get nice notes like that, because you get your share of negative ones too. So
there's a lot of negativity out there. We've done all we can for a couple of years to keep it as positive as we can around here, and you've been a huge part of that, man. So thank you. We love you, and I'll call you here pretty soon.
All right, we'll see you guys, and
we'll be in touch.
JC out.
There you go. JC Shurburtt, owner of the BigSpur.com. That is it for us today. Back tomorrow with head baseball coach Chad Holbrook at the College of Charleston, Corey McCartney, Scott Glaze. We'll see what else we can squeeze in there. And on Friday, we'll be here for our final day with Derek Scott and Rafael Esparza, and I can't remember who else. Darren, I don't even know if we have anybody else, but we'll put somebody else in there. And
who knows?
Who knows? Have fun with it. That's for sure. It's beautiful, so we hope you get outside and play around a little bit with a little bit of probably the last shot we've got of quote-unquote chilly air.
Chilly, yeah.
Because in like a week, it's going to be like 100 again. So thanks to JC. Thanks to Darren, as always. Thank you to all of you. 2 left. Back tomorrow at noon right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.